My name is Melody Sims, and this is my developmental history project. I will discuss my development from birth to the present based on my memories, experiences with family or other relevant people, personal records, and information discussed in this course. I will also discuss how the theories of learning and development apply beyond myself and explain what my understanding of this content means for me as an educator. Birth to 3. By looking at my development from birth to the present, I can see how the theories and theorists have shaped who I am today. I was born in a small town in the Midwest and raised by two loving, supportive parents. During this life stage, I was mainly developing physically and socially. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is especially important for infants because their basic needs must be met in order for them to develop properly. Physically, my development during this time period included learning how to walk and talk as well as becoming more independent with the help of adults around me. Socially, I learned about trust from caretakers while being given positive reinforcement when reaching milestones such as saying mama or taking a few steps on my own. My language development at this stage was also very important. Through babbling and understanding simple words like no or up, I began forming relationships with others by communicating better, which helped me become more trusting of them too. Although moral concepts were not yet developed during my infancy, it is an essential part in observing how children learn, according to Kohlberg's moral development. We'll be talking about it later. Lastly, but most importantly, many environmental factors played a huge role in shaping who I am today, growing up surrounded by people who cared deeply about my well-being and provided a safe environment for me to explore and learn. Preschool years. This period of development saw an increase in my cognitive abilities, language skills, moral understanding, and exposure to learning practices through the form of youth theater. According to Bruner's spiral curriculum theory, I was constantly revisiting topics that were previously taught, as well as being introduced to new ones, which allowed me to gain a deeper understanding about them over time. With increased exposure towards educational materials such as theater, I also began forming schemas or mental models according to their relevance, which helped explain why some topics remained easier for me than others, such as theater and music. This is based on Vygotsky's schema theory, where he states that any knowledge acquired is dependent upon the context it's learned within, i.e., if something has been seen multiple times, then it becomes easier for us to remember. My language development was greatly influenced by Vygotsky's theory of socio-cultural and language influences on learning. As I grew older, I began to understand and use language to communicate. I was able to understand spoken language and learned to speak in a socially acceptable and respectful manner. I also learned to read and write, which helped me further develop my language skills. My preschool years are also when my moral development started taking shape. Kohlberg's moral development theory explains how young children begin by following rules because they expect rewards, while later on they will understand more abstract concepts such as justice or fairness without expecting anything in return. This process began at home and gradually transitioned into a learning-oriented environment such as church, where social norms became more visible, like sharing and taking turns. Lastly, my preschool years are where I was first exposed to Montessori-like learning, which allowed me to explore topics through hands-on activities rather than just reading about them. Believing that children learn best when they can experience something directly, the Montessori method allows young learners like myself at the time to gain a better understanding of how our world works by being able to interact with it more closely. Elementary school. During elementary school, my learning was focused heavily on language development, as well as fostering relationships with peers who share similar interests or experiences. This is based on Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, which states that learning occurs within a social context, meaning any knowledge acquired is developed together between individuals and not just in isolation, as I mentioned before. As I entered elementary school, I experienced the effects of Kohlberg's theory of moral development. I was encouraged to think critically about different moral dilemmas and to develop my own understanding of right and wrong. I was also exposed to Dewey's theory of experiential learning, which helped me to learn through an active process of exploration and experimentation, such as performing using instruments we liked to play in class for a Christmas concert. Piaget's developmental stages were highly relevant, given that children between 6 and 12 are in the concrete operational stage, where problem-solving becomes more logical than earlier stages. My elementary school years allowed me to practice this skill both inside and outside of classroom settings, which was integral towards my development as a learner. This period also marks one of my earliest memories related towards learning styles, since growth mindset wasn't yet fully introduced at the time. I remember being told by a teacher who didn't know any better that music theory was too hard for me to comprehend, so I should just focus on singing instead. This was based on a fixed mindset, which Carol Dweck later debunked with her research about growth mindsets, where she explained how our beliefs about ourselves directly impact the way we learn. Elementary schools saw an increase in moral understanding due to Erikson's 8 stages of man theory. During this stage, children understand their place in society and its rules/laws while making decisions based upon what they know, right from wrong, rather than expecting rewards for doing good deeds, thus forming their own sets of beliefs over time through trial and error. Middle school. Middle school saw an increase in my language abilities, moral understanding, social-emotional skills. During my middle school years, I started developing more empathy towards others after being exposed to Lisa Delpit's warm demander model indirectly. This model encourages educators to be warm and supportive while still providing guidance when needed, especially since middle school is a time of great transition between childhood innocence and teenage angst. This need for expectations to not be lowered was especially significant when I was recovering from a major leg surgery. In 8th grade, trauma-informed teaching was another important approach used to help me get out of the slump my surgery and the subsequent death of my great-grandmother had created in the 7th grade. By acknowledging the trauma-informed teaching was used by acknowledging my academic hardship and using it as a tool for growth rather than letting it define me. This type of approach gave me agency over my own life and provided me with resources I needed to succeed despite the challenges I faced along my educational journey. My language development during this time also saw an increase due mainly in part because of Malaguzzi's 100 languages theory, which encourages individuals like myself at the time to use whatever means necessary to express ourselves most accurately so we can be heard by others. I had few outlets to communicate through, so I often found myself connecting with others through shared interests, such as Doctor Who. Through discussion in school, I was also exposed to Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory. I was encouraged to think about my environment, including my family, peers, and community, and how they played a key role in my development. Being exposed to people of varied backgrounds helped me gain an appreciation for different cultures and experiences, which further increased my moral understanding about the world. It's not just binary. High school. This period of development saw an increase in my social-emotional skills, language abilities, moral understanding, as well as learning practices due to improved cognitive abilities and increased exposure towards educational materials using Bloom's taxonomy, which helped me better analyze topics from multiple perspectives, i.e. lower-order thinking, such as memorization, versus higher-order thinking, like analyzing and critiquing. For example, instead of just memorizing the PowerPoint, seeing how statistics can play out from the perspective of someone conducting an experiment.
Kick.
Unlike middle school, where I was mainly relying on others' opinions and beliefs when making decisions, now I had more autonomy over what topics interest me most, so that allowed me to learn more efficiently. I could experiment with artistic techniques I was learning in school by doing a commission for my aunt in her garage and having fun doing it, showcasing Dewey's experiential learning theory, which states that knowledge is acquired through active engagement with real-life materials/experiences rather than passive reading or memorization alone, something I'm still practicing today whenever possible. Environmental factors also remained important during high school. Having access to mentors and resources from my school, community, or even online during COVID-19 allowed me to gain insight into topics that I would otherwise have never been exposed to, such as voice acting or drawing. College. College saw an increase in my moral understanding as well as my learning practices, due mainly to the reintroduction of Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory, something I experienced firsthand while attending college, since being a commuter created such a cognitive dissonance between how I felt at home and at school, influencing me both positively and negatively depending on the proximity towards me. And school contributed to further understanding of language and pedagogy, and my home contributed more to increased moral understanding. This was occurring through the experience of having a significant other and contributing to the development of my toddler brother. During this stage, environmental factors such as Reggio Emilia's image of a child theory played a huge role because it allowed me to explore topics through hands-on activities just like when I was younger, but now with more complex materials and experiences, thus helping foster deeper connections between myself and my peers, which ultimately enhanced our collective learning experience. This period of development saw an increase in my language abilities, moral understanding, social-emotional skills, as well as learning practices due to increased autonomy and exposure towards educational materials. During college, I was exposed to Bell Hook's theory of critical thinking, which encourages individuals like myself at the time to use whatever means necessary to express ourselves most accurately so we can be heard by others. Her model also promotes active listening and questioning, which is essential for meaningful conversations. This increases my ability to empathize with others, since I need to understand their perspectives better before making any judgments or assumptions about them. I also started incorporating a growth mindset into my studies. If something didn't come immediately, then it was okay because there were still resources available that could help me, such as tutoring or online courses over the summer, allowing me to gain a deeper understanding on topics without feeling discouraged when faced with difficulty at first glance. Lastly, but most importantly, many environmental factors played a huge role in shaping who I am today. Growing up surrounded by people who cared deeply about my well-being and provided safe environments for exploration and learning has been integral towards how far I have come from birth till now. My development as an educator. As I reflect on my development and the various theories and theorists I have encountered, I realize that I am better equipped to understand the complexity of learning and development. I have a greater appreciation for the importance of creating learning environments that foster exploration, experimentation, and critical thinking. I recognize the importance of providing students with access to a variety of resources and experiences, including books, art, music, and outdoor activities. I also understand the importance of providing students with a safe and nurturing environment, as well as emotional and psychological support. I am aware of the importance of understanding each student's individual needs and learning styles. I understand the importance of addressing social, emotional, moral, and cognitive domains, as well as the importance of addressing the intersection of these domains. I am also aware of the importance of providing students with access to current research about learning, including social and emotional learning, trauma-informed teaching, culturally responsive teaching. I understand the importance of fostering a growth mindset and promoting a sense of belonging and inclusion in the classroom. Overall, I believe that by understanding my own development and the various theories and theorists I have encountered, I am better equipped to understand the complexity of learning and development. I can use this knowledge to create a learning environment that encourages exploration, experimentation, and critical thinking, as well as provide students with access to a variety of resources and experiences. I can also use this knowledge to better understand each student's individual needs and learning styles, and to foster a growth mindset and a sense of belonging in the classroom. Thank you.